number 7 and number 8, respectively, on our Season 4 leaderboard. Very, very big match. These two good friends will shake hands. They've been traveling together all year long. And now they get ready for what might be their most important match of the year.
And when you play this long together, when you travel for this long together, eventually this happens. There's just going to be a match. Two of you have to play. No one can draw here. There's no concessions to be had. Just got to play it out. Best player wins, and it matters a ton.
Todd going to search for Prairie Stream with that polluted Delta. He's fallen down to 18 already as he takes his second turn of the game. Roast the draw step. He will roast the Swift Spear. And we're going to head back over to Tom. The boss will untap and take a draw step here. He's going to play a mountain. And now here's a dragon fodder. So 2 goblin tokens on the way as we head back over to Todd, who's drawn a copy of Dragon Master Outcast. Bloodstained Mire is what Anderson will sacrifice. He'll fall down to 17. And now it's aptly named.
I mean, you got to cast it, right? But not the card you're looking for in this matchup.
It is the aptly named Painful Truths. Bloodstained Mire, the draw here for Ross. Shields are down here for Todd. He's got to hope for the best. It is possible, I think, to die from here.
Let me do the math real quick here. 3 cards in the graveyard, and then he cannot. I don't think he can. There's a way to do it this turn. No, sorry. Titan Strength, Become Immense kills him.
Yeah.
It can't involve Team or Battle Rage. There's not enough going on for that, but 2 Titan Strength and a Become Immense is lethal.
Swift Spear. Dragon Fodder.
And this isn't quite lethal, but this is very hard for Anderson's deck to beat, as he doesn't have access to sweepers.
I know Radiant Flame, stuff like that, so Tom looking to go wide here. I think it's going to have to involve Soulfire Grandmaster now.
Yeah, he's got to get a blocker into play that can check the 1/1s and gain life with his removal spells. You can see his best play this turn might be Fiery Impulse, leave up Crackling Doom, and that's just nonsense against what Ross is doing right now.
Todd going to take a long look at the options here. Crackling Doom, Oceanize, Command Fire, Impulse among them. It doesn't appear there are any blockers here. Kolaghan's Command in hand too. The big question is, can he just get all these cards out of his hand in time? He might have to use Dragon Master Outcast as a blocker here, but he's just going to pass the turn back right now.
Yeah, he basically has to lay a trap here for Ross and hope that Ross walks into it. If he just plays his removal spell straight up here, Ross has so much left over, and then he can start firing off his pump spells as well.
Well, Tom's got some decisions to make. He's going to play a Monastery Swift Spear. Not a lot Todd can do about that. Now here's Hordling Outburst. So now we're going to see Kolaghan's Command, kill that, make a discard. And now Fiery Impulse that. Todd's going to take 4, but 3 more goblins on the way.
Yeah. Anderson may be drawing to Soulfire Grandmaster depending on what the leftovers in his hand are. Remember, Ross is empty-handed, so he doesn't have access to a shock, but any other removal spells really aren't going to get the job done, I figure.
Polluted Delta the draw. Dragon Master Outcast, pass the turn back. Todd going to go down to 5. Can go up to a virtual 9.
Yeah, pretty clearly representing a copy of Oceanize Command in hand.
Yep. He's going to gain the 4 life now, go up to 9. Doesn't want to worry about a Tarkus command or any of that stuff. Not that he can really beat that card anyway.
He might as well do it, but he's not being a Tarkus command.
Everybody in. There's a block. Become immense. See you later, alligator. Tom Ross going to win game number 1 here over Todd Anderson. A Tarka red up a game very quickly here over Jeskai Black, which means we get to take a look at the sideboards here. And Todd is immediately going to the drawing board, and he knows exactly what he wants to board in. He's got 2 Master of the Unseens and Negate, 2 Radiant Flames, 2 Ration Clerics, 2 Dispels, 3 Infinite Obliteration, and Erase, 2 Disdainful Stroke.
Some cheap interaction here in Negate, 2 copies of Dispel and the Irration Clerics, and a real trump in the matchup with 2 copies of Radiant Flames. Those 7 cards are going to come in very quickly. Some of the clunkier removal spells like Ojutai's Command, Crackling Doom, Utter End, some mixture of those cards will be coming out. You don't want to cut them all together because a lot of those cards are clean answers to the combo, no matter when it shows up. But you don't want that many 3 and 4 mana spells in your deck here.
For the boss, he's got 2 Den Protectors, 2 Fiery Impulse, 3 Rending Volley, 2 Chandra Fire of Kaladesh, 2 Boiling Earth, a Vault Breaker, 3 Roast.
The shocks are very important in this matchup. With things slowing down and Ross needing a little bit more protection from sweepers, I think you're going to see the Den Protector come in as well. And this seems like a matchup for Vault Breaker.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
You want the big guy?
If he wants it for the slower matchups that are about slogging through removal, this matchup certainly qualifies.
Well, perhaps we will see Vault Breaker make an appearance here for the boss as he and Todd will finish sideboarding up, and we will talk about the YouTube page here with StarCityGames.com where you can go back and watch replays of this Open here in Denver and a whole bunch more.
Just a lot of great content up on the page at youtube.com/StarCityGames. See a lot of old content like Versus Series articles, Premium Archives, Open Series archives, and some content that's exclusive to the YouTube page like unboxings. Again, youtube.com/StarCityGames. Subscribe today and get notified when new content is uploaded to the page.
Todd Anderson, Tom Ross, 2 very good friends, provide content for Star City Games, both live in Roanoke, Virginia, both looking to qualify for the Players' Championship with Brad Nelson. For Todd, he's looking for Open Series, top 8 number, number 26.
So, which is a lot of those.
That's a lot of those. With 6 wins, number 7 would be Timely. 3 invitational top 8s, 4 Grand Prix top 8s to his name. These 2 guys are, it's just crazy. These 2 guys, they play a lot of Mortal Kombat together. They hang out a lot together while they're in Roanoke, do versus videos against each other, all that good stuff. And now, number 7 and number 8 respectively on our Season 4 leaderboard in a very, very important match. Fortunately for them, it doesn't knock them out of the tournament. They're still going to be in top 8 contention here, but never a great time to play against a friend.
Yes, but with the standings the way they were, this was only a matter of time. Just only so many. I mean, you saw it when we went in the round. Todd Anderson, I think, is in 3rd place in the standings right now at X and 2.
Yep.
With Logan distributing so many losses down the tournament, there's only so many X and 2s, X and 3s left in the event.
Yeah,
so.
Logan is the loss giver.
Yes.
This weekend. He cannot be stopped, giving beatdowns to everyone. For Tom, he doesn't have 26 Open Series top 8s. He's got 7 looking, or excuse me, he doesn't have 25. He's got 7 looking for number 8 here this weekend, looking for his 3rd win on the Open Series. He does have 1 more invitational win than Todd does, but both these guys' resumes, very, very impressive to see here on the Open Series. A lot of winning when we do get to watch them play. Only 1 player going to walk out the victor in this particular match. Tom currently up a game, and I feel like game 1's exquisite for him in this matchup.
Yeah, the way that Anderson's deck is built, he's giving up some points against the target red game 1. Manus Rider is a very good threat. It's not the easiest thing for a target red to get off the table. It's basically just Fiery Impulse, and that's no guarantee. It's an attacker and a blocker, and you need both things against a target red. And with Anderson not having that card in his deck, he's giving up a little bit in this matchup. He's compensating with a very good sideboard. A lot of cheap interaction, some blockers, and Radiant Flames. Great mixture of cards.
Both these players will take a look at their opening hand. And it looks like Tom is not happy, so he'll go down. Todd going to keep his 7. We talk about how these 2 players are number 7 and number 8 on our Season 4 leaderboard. They're so close in points with each other. And not a lot separates them from the pack, honestly. You know, you take a look at, you know, Jonathan Morawski, something like that. I mean, he's good to go, but, you know, once you get to Todd, Tom, Rudy, and even, you know, Eric Hawkins and stuff, it's close.
I mean, right now, Todd Anderson at 243, depending on how this tournament shakes out, is at risk of falling behind Tom Ross and Logan Mize in the standings.
Yeah.
Potentially Eric Hawkins as well, depending on what happens in this IQ. So he looks good, you know, 7th place and a whole lot of points to show for the year, but this weekend could easily turn sour.
Mystic Monastery here for Todd. For Tom, he's going to search up a Zergo. Search up a basic mountain with that Bloodstained Mire. The follow-up here is Jason. You can see in Anderson's hand, he does have Radiant Flames and a mountain to go along with it. So now it's about setting the trap.
Yep.
With your Atarka Red experience, is there a lot you can do about Radiant Flames?
Not a whole lot. Most decks have 2 copies in the board. Most of your hands play into it at some point regardless. And if you give Jeskai way too much time, then you're just going to lose to cards like Ojutai's Command or Treasure Cruise or whatever. So I usually just put my head down and go. The thing that you can do to try to play around it is leave a haste creature back, be it Monastery Swiftspear, one of your dash threats. So in the event that they tap out, you have an opportunity to go haste threat and combo you out. That's the one concession you can make to try to work around it. But often you're better served just putting your head down and hoping they don't draw one of their few copies.
Rending Volley going to take care of Jace. Zergo plus Titan Strength will allow Tom to scry and get in there for 5 points of damage.
The other thing you can do is cards like Dragon Fodder and Hordeling Outburst can sometimes just force the issue on their own because you can't really answer those cards with 1-for-1 removal spells.
Soulfire Grandmaster here for Todd. With a red mana just hanging out. Here's the attack. All right, they'll trade. Todd will get 2 life.
And I like Anderson's block there. I think the logic being, you know, Ross is already mulligan. He's already used a Titan Strength just to punch through some damage and scry. As long as Anderson can trade 1-for-1, eventually the mixture of Radiant Flames and Treasure Cruise is going to pull Anderson really far ahead.
The reason I like the block there too is Treasure Cruise is 1. You mentioned Radiant Flames. Also, he's got No Shine's Command in hand too.
Yeah.
So he's probably just okay with like making these exchanges. This Radiant Flames is a 1-for-1 technically, even though it's killing 3 creatures. It's trading with exactly the card Hordeling Outburst, but he also has another copy. He just wants to get more cards in the graveyard.
Yep. Just trade, keep the life total high. Eventually, the Treasure Cruise works itself down to Ancestral Recall, and gas back up, find some more cheap removal, find your Arishan Clerics, find your Dispels, whatever. Try to lock up the game that way.
Todd just going to pass the turn back. Cannot find land number 4 right now. Here comes the boss for 2. Anderson going to fall down to 15. Will he add more to the board? The answer is yes. And I think we'll see Todd pull the trigger now on this other Radiant Flames.
And these people know each other's deck lists, I'm sure. So
yeah,
I do not think Ross is going to give much credit to the second copy of Radiant Flames, and this is going to be hard to overcome.
Not too
little shake of the head there.
Yeah, not too thrilled about that. It might be a defensive become immense to keep a token alive, if he even has the cards in the graveyard to do that. Well, he does. He got plenty of cards in the graveyard. Yeah, defensive become immense to save 1 goblin. It's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen. Gonna have to do it though.
He's got enough cards in his graveyard where it doesn't prevent him from casting future copies of Become Immense. And with the target's command in hand, he has to kind of build up a board.
Anderson gonna fall down to 14. He'll draw a card. He's looking for land number 4. There's Kolagon's command. Yep, kill that. Maybe. Yeah, kill that, make you discard. Yeah, Tom's gonna discard a land, pass the turn back. Tom will just pass the turn back to another land. Anderson with a Jace. It's not a land, but it's a spell to play, so he will cast a Treasure Cruise, in fact. So, 3 cards coming. Bloodstained Mire is 1, Soulfire Grandmaster 2, Shambling Vent is the easy land to play. And now Todd is starting to pull away.
We are in point of no return territory.
Basically.
Can happen real fast.
There's a Flooded Strand. Couple of creatures, and they're really good ones there in Soulfire Grandmaster and Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Tom going to search up another copy of Cinderglade here. We're going to go back over to Anderson. He's going to sacrifice the Flooded Strand on the upkeep.
And Todd with the other way to do it. I talked a lot about blocker plus removal spell available as a way to beat a target red. Blocker plus dispel is much the same deal. It prevents someone from being able to combo out. So, point of no return.
Yeah, we are effectively there. I mean, especially, if so far Grandmaster doesn't die, this game's basically over, and Jace is going to be going active, even though there aren't 5 cards in the graveyard just yet. Todd will be able to fix his draw. Here's a copy of a Tarkus command. That'll play the role of Skullcrack here, but Todd has the ability to actually counter this if he wants to.
He might just rebuy Dispel and cast Dispel.
Yeah.
And he can still hold up the 1 mana for Dispel. So. Sure.
Yep, there's your rebuy Dispel.
Might as well do it.
Agreed. Todd will gain 2. Tom will lose 2. And hey, the life totals are even.
It's a tied game.
So it's basically a tie game. Well, what? I don't understand. It's 14-14.
Love the concession.
Yeah.
Love that concession.
Well, when you're beat, you might as well get out of here.
A Target's command, the target red deck, it's very different from the red decks I typically play, which are just, I have a curve of creatures, not really playing with pump spells, try to kill some stuff, try to get some value out of your lands. That's usually the recipe for the decks that I build. A Target's red is a lot different. You get these explosive wins where you can win out of nowhere or win through resistance, but the other side of it is when you're beat, you are done. There's no catching up. There's nothing you can do once the game gets into that sort of spot.
You see the options there for both players. Looks like Tom's going to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Todd will do the same. So we'll talk about our Season 3 Invitational Champion here on the Open Series. He's got a token, just like Todd and Tom do. That's Alex Bastecki, who was able to defeat Steve Mann 3-2 in the finals of our New Jersey Invitational a couple of months ago. That's why he's headed to the Players' Championship. And there are a couple of different ways you can go about getting this Germ token.
Well, up until now, anyone who registered for one of our 2-day $20,000 Open Series events or register for one of our 5K Premier IQs, either here at the Opens or the ones that you can bring to your local store, would come with one of these Alex Bastecki tokens. But next week, we're going to be in Las Vegas for the Invitational. There's going to be a new champion, a new token. And soon, that token will be given out at the Opens and so forth. So if you want to get your hands on the Alex Bastecki Germ token, one way left to do it, order from StarCityGames.com, $5 or more will be shipped with 1 copy free of this token.
We look forward to seeing Bastecki and the rest of the gang at our Players' Championship, and potentially these 2 players as well here in Tom Ross and Todd Anderson. Number 7 and number 8, respectively, on our Season 4 leaderboard. And we will see who the winner is of this match, and whoever the loser is, who falls down to X and 3, if they're able to bounce back and get 2 more wins to be able to make the top 8.
I have quite a few Alex Bastecki Germ tokens, quite a few Ali Antrazi tokens for my greater than $5 orders from Star City Games.
Impressive. The Old Man of the Sea helped there.
Old Man of the Sea was great. Yeah. 5 copies of Serendip Jin. That came with one of them.
Now, why would one have 5 copies of Serendip Jin? I don't even know if I said that right. That boom.
Well, first of all, it's just sweet. Cards from Arabian Nights and Antiquities, they're just awesome to own. And if you don't own any of them, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you do own some of them, you do know what I'm talking about. Also, I love to spec on oddball stuff. And so with the Magic 93, 94 old school Magic scene blowing up, I just have some weirdos that I think might have an untapped ceiling. So Old Man of the Sea, Serendip Jin, Diamond Valley.
Sure, why not?
I think Thunder Spirit might be a good. I don't want to give away everything. I'm just saying there's a spreadsheet that exists that goes over all this, and Serendip Jin was at the top of it at the time.
Very nice, very nice.
And guess what? It already went up. Already went up.
You're basically rich.
How much of the movement occurred because of the position I took? I don't know. Are there uncomfortable analogs to be drawn between this and the stock market? Probably. But it's already looking like a lucrative investment. Oh, someone bought a lot of this. I guess it's worth more now. Yeah. Are we sure?
Yeah.
Does banking just work? Is that how things work?
It's unclear. It's unclear. It's a conversation for another time.
Right. Just when I started to think about it, I started getting really nervous. Yeah. So I stopped thinking about it. But in the meantime, I'm currently up dozens of dollars.
Yes. A dozenaire.
I'm a dozenaire right now.
Tom's going to play a Dragon Fodder. Here comes the Berserker. He's on the board early here. See if Todd can get to the board on turn 2. Ochitai's command the draw. I'm trying to scan Todd's hand for a red card, as those are the ways he gets to interact early. There's the Soulfire Grandmaster. It's going to demand an answer right away. Because if Todd gets the chance to block with that thing at all, you know he's going to jump at it.
And Ross's board right now doesn't really need to add anything to it because he can dump all of his leftover mana into the Lightning Berserker. So if he's concerned about Radiant Flames, assuming that he has a shock to get this out of the way, he can simply attack, dump all of his mana in the Lightning Berserker, pass the turn back. If Anderson's on spot removal, he's got 3 creatures in play. If Anderson's on a sweeper, he's only down 2 cards.
What if Foothill's going to be sacrificed here by Tom? Cinderglade is the weapon of choice. And we'll see what comes next. Yep, it's a Rending Volley. Pump up the Berserker, come across here for 5 points of damage total. Todd gonna fall down to 14. We head back his way. Crackling Doom the draw. Now here's the thing about Jeskai Black. You gotta wonder how the lands are gonna line up now.
Well, this is, on the draw, it's likely that Todd stumbles a little bit on the mana. It's rare for it to be totally clean coming to play untapped. He has to play a little bit off curve. And playing off curve on the draw is very dangerous.
Kolagon's command. Get back Soulfire Grandmaster. Take down Lightning Berserker, pass the turn back.
Just so you know, Todd can die right now.
Yep.
Become immense and Tear of Battle Rage, it kills him.
That's the frightening part about this deck.
And now I think Ross has to make the call if he's willing to risk Radiant Flames. I think his leftovers now are a land, a shock effect, and a Tarka's command, and a dragon fodder. He might just have to put the other dragon fodder into play, knowing that if Todd has Radiant Flames, the game's over, to make sure that he can apply enough leverage with his copy of a Tarka's command.
Well, it's a big draw step here for Anderson. 2 Radiant Flames after sideboard. Jace the draw. There's Soulfire Grandmaster. Shambling Vent, pass the turn back. Decisions.
So Todd representing Dispel right now. Which
Pretty
is
strongly.
Giving Ross some pause.
Uh-huh. Wild Slash. All right.
And even if Anderson doesn't have Dispel, he's got to at least make Ross think he's thinking about Dispel.
I think a Tarka's command may have been the draw.
I think he had a Tarka's command last turn. I think Titan Strength is the last card.
Todd has done a really nice job, and this is such a minor thing, of just bluffing the Dispel right now.
Yeah.
It's so minor, but it's something that could really add up here.
The problem is that I think the Soulfire Grandmaster is good enough in this spot that if Anderson has Dispel, he's very likely to use it there. So I'm not sure if Ross is buying it, but he's at least got to think about it.
Well, I think he just, the thing I like is that when the Wild Slash was cast on the Soulfire Grandmaster, he just thought for a little while about like if I'm going to Dispel this or not. And Tom had a Tarka's command this turn. He did not cast it.
Well, it wouldn't have been lethal.
No!
Oh,
boy.
Boy, that's a draw.
Radiant Flames off the top here from Anderson is going to clear away all of those Goblin tokens. He's just going to pass the turn back now. Wooded Foothills, Dispel the draw here for Todd now.
We are from, it looks like Ross is winning next turn through resistance to, I don't think Ross can get back in the game now. It flips that quickly.
The last call. Please make your way.
Wow, what a top deck by Todd Anderson. Tom will draw. I think it was another copy of Tarka's command, not too sure. The thing that a Tarka's command will do right now that'll serve a purpose is that it will stop the lifelink from Ochitai's command. That's the positive. That's about the only positive, but that's the positive.
Well, Anderson might just go draw a card and get back the Soulfire Grandmaster. He doesn't have to risk Atarka's command right now.
Sure.
Because he gets to untap and just attack with Soulfire Grandmaster. That forces some action on Ross's side. If he's got Atarka's command, that might be good enough for him to fire it off.
In comes the Soulfire Grandmaster.
Anderson's a little too savvy for that. If he gets back Soulfire Grandmaster and gains 4, Atarka's command is bad news. Drawing a card and getting at the Soulfire Grandmaster, you don't really care if Atarka's command's in the mix.
Here's Jace. Pass the turn back. Ross going to sacrifice Bloodstained Mire. Going to fall down to 14.
And Ross there went for the Dragon Fodder because he was confident that Anderson didn't have Radiant Flames based on what happened the previous turn.
He was right.
He was worried about Dispel
Yep.
and didn't want to cast Atarka's command.
Yep.
The risk was Radiant Flames off the top. Todd found it.
What do we have here? It's a Morph. Okay, that's going to be Den Protector. That's going to resolve.
Not a huge concern here for Anderson. He can just initiate the action with Crackling Doom, see what Ross gets back, and he's got responses to everything with Dispel and Ojutai's command in hand.
Mountain there for Tom. Pass the turn back, just 1 card left. I think Crackling Doom here is pretty safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just see what Ross gets back.
Yep.
Like I said, with Dispel, Negate, and Ojutai's command, whatever Ross gets back, Anderson has covered.
Yep. Gonna get back Rending Volley to kill Jace. Todd getting a little bit of life in the Crackling Doom because of Soulfire Grandmaster. He's up to 12 now. Let's make it 14 after an attack. Here is Jace. Yeah, I can just quote you on this. We're at the point of no return.
This deck is not equipped to come back from positions like this. This is the cost of building a deck with 1,000,000 pump spells.
And this is what is so difficult with this deck too. Is you don't get to make a mistake.
No.
You don't get to get bailed out by like a Siege Rhino top deck or something like that. You make one slight error in judgment or a miscalculation when playing Atarka Red, you get the maximum punishment. As Todd Anderson's going to win this match over Tom Ross, 2-1. Radiant Flames, off the top, sends Anderson over to 11-2.
Very good position for him to make the top 8.
Yep.
Tom Ross, not beat by any stretch of the imagination. Still, has just got to win the next 2. It's a painful loss, and it's a tough pairing for the 2 of them. Hard to avoid it for the entire tournament. But Anderson was able to take it off there with the top deck Radiant Flames when he absolutely needed it. And from there, no hope of Ross coming back.
Yeah, there is no way to rebuild when playing Atarka Red from that situation. So Todd Anderson moves up to 11-2. Tom Ross going to fall down to 10-3. Both